Okay, in this presentation we are going to look at decision theory, and we're going to look at some decision criteria such as the Bayesian criteria, as well as Minimax and Maximin and so on. A manufacturer of specialist products for the retail market must decide which product to make in the coming year, next year. There are three possible choices: the basic choice, the deluxe choice, and the supreme choice. Each have different tooling up costs. In addition to that, the manufacturer has fixed overheads of 1.3 million. Okay. Now, here's the sort of products that are on offer: the basic, the deluxe, and the supreme. Here is the additional tooling up costs. So it's 100,000 plus the 1.3 million, 400,000 plus 1.3, and then 1 million. And here is the revenue per item sold. Revenue, okay? Now, so essentially we sort of assume that they're selling as usual, if you get me, but they get a bit more revenue per product depending on which product specification they're selling. Okay. Now, last year the manufacturer sold 2.1 million items. Okay, and is preparing forecasts of profitability for the coming year based on three scenarios. So there's the low sales scenario, okay, which is 70% of last year's sales, which will be 1.47 million. Okay. Medium, which is the same as last year, so 2.1. Okay. And high sales, which means that there's better sales than the previous year. Okay. Now, so determine the annual profits in dollars under each possible combination. So essentially what we have there is 9 combinations. We have the product type, basic, deluxe, and supreme, and also the market conditions: low sales, medium sales, and high sales. Okay, so between the two factors there's 9 possible outcomes, 9 possible scenarios that could take place in the current year. So you could go for basic sales or the basic product and get medium sales, which is pretty much the same as last year. Okay, so what we have to do here is determine the profit under each of these combinations. Okay, so this is just to get us going. Okay, now, so first off, there's a bit of a thought process goes into this. So essentially what we're going to do is work on the basis of last year's sales, 2.1 million, okay? And what we're going to do is, for each of the 9 scenarios, sort of adjust that according to the product type and the market conditions. Okay, so essentially what we're going to do here is multiply 2.1 million by the same product type, but only 7% of the market. Okay, so essentially we go from 2.1 million to down here 1.47 million. Okay, we're selling the same product, but we're only getting 70% of the revenue. Okay, whereas if we go for the basic, okay, and the medium, the market conditions remain medium, which is sort of say the same. Essentially, that's the same price and the same market conditions. So the same 100% of the market, multiplied by 0.100. Okay, so 2.1 million stays as 2.1 million, and so on. For example, let's look at another example. If we go for the supreme, where we get $1.50 per unit, okay, as opposed to 1, okay, so we're working on the basis of 1, so the multiplier there is 1.500, okay, and like with the increase in the market, the growth of the market is 15%, 1.15. That means the revenue will increase by this factor here, 1.5 times 1.15. So essentially what would happen in this scenario is that the revenue jumps from 2.1 million to 3.62250. Okay, so essentially this is an important step. It just takes a little bit of time to go through it and sort of see what the revenue is under each of the 9 conditions, or the nine combinations, okay, of product and market conditions. Okay, now that's the revenue. Okay, but we also have to think of the costs. Now the costs is a bit more of a straightforward matter. So they are 1.4 million for basic, 1.7 million for deluxe, and 2.3 million for supreme. Now we don't really, that's not really affected by the market conditions, like, because we don't know the market conditions in advance. So it's going to be 1.4, 1.7, or 2.3 no matter what. Okay. Now, so how do we find the profit? Now it's a sort of straightforward enough matter. So it's a revenue here is 1.47, whereas the costs is 1.4. So in this case, for the profits in this case is going to be simply 70,000. Okay. Essentially what I have to do here is fill out another table. Okay. The next case is the medium basic, where the profits will be 700,000. Okay. And so on. And likewise, it will be 1.015 million. So essentially, you just have to work out the profits in each of the 9 scenarios. Now, just to sort of have it there. So I have it done here. 70,000, 700,000, and 1.015 million. Okay. So essentially, just that's an extension of what I was just sort of demonstrating above. Just have to sort of work through it and come up with that table there. Okay. Now we're going to go through this table here and look at the maximum and the minimum. Okay. Now, sorry, I'm just going to come back to this over here. So just to sort of remark on this shortly. But we'll just look at the maximum of the minimum and the minimum of the maximum. So essentially in this table, this column here, I just picked out the minimum, okay? And here I pick out the maximum, okay? Now, we actually specifically asked in the question, I'll just go read the question shortly. We asked for the Minimax, but I'll just point out the Maximin as well, okay? So in this case, under the Minimax, we pick out the minimum of the maximums there, okay? So that's the lowest value on that column there. That's the lowest minimum value, okay? Or the highest, the lowest maximum value. So these are our 3 maximums, and that's the lowest value, okay? So according to the Minimax decision criterion, we would go with basic, okay? Now, I'm not asked this, but I'll just sort of point it out, that the maximum of the minimums is 95,000. Okay, in that case, if we're going for the Maximin, it would be the supreme. Okay, now, but, well, actually, this is one of the questions here. So that's answering one of the questions. I'll just go back up and read one of the questions properly. Yeah, determine the Minimax solution to this problem. So that was the basic. Now, determine the Bayes criterion solution based on annual profit given the probability distribution. P low is 25%, P medium is 0.6, and P high is 0.15. So that means we're expecting the low market conditions at 25%, medium market conditions at 0.6, and high market conditions at 0.15. So essentially, I'm not going to do this out, but essentially, this is the expected profit. Okay, let's get rid of all that. Of using these probabilities and these values. Okay, that's the expected profit. Okay, so it's 0.25 times 70,000, 0.6 times 700,000, plus 0.15 times 1.015 million. Okay. So it's the expected value of a discrete random variable. Okay, and likewise I do that for the other ones there. For the deluxe, it is 687,700, and for the supreme, it is 684,000 1,625. Okay, so essentially the Bayes criterion is essentially the highest expected value. Okay, the most favorable expected value. So it does rely on the probabilities. So just to sort of remark that Bayes criterion is essentially, very closely related to the probability distribution and expected values and so on. Okay. So under the Bayes criterion, what we do is base our selection on the highest expected profit, and in this case, which of these has the highest value? It is actually the deluxe. Okay, so according to our Bayes criterion, which is to say the highest expected profit, the decision is to pick the deluxe product. Okay. So that's it. That sort of sets up the idea of a Bayes criterion and its relationship to probability distributions and discrete random variables and so on, and expected values of discrete random variables. So you're picking the scenario with the product choice with the best expected profit. Okay, we'll leave it there.